Tennessee is often identified with country music, the scenery of the Smoky Mountains, and iconic barbecue. But beyond the main tourist routes, this state holds another identity that is far more eccentric, strange, and sometimes hard to believe. From remote places with names that sound like jokes, to fictional cultural exoduses, to dark historical records involving the legal execution of a circus animal, Tennessee is an epicenter of domestic oddities in the United States. So, let's begin with 15 of the strangest towns in Tennessee that redefine what regional uniqueness really means. This small community in Jackson County literally means without a name. This remote, rural area is home to only a handful of families, with a classic inland southern landscape dominated by fields and wooden houses. The town's strangeness comes from a 19th century postal bureaucracy problem. When residents applied to create a local post office, they sent the paperwork to Washington, D.C., but the form kept being returned because the town name section was left blank. Frustrated by that bureaucratic dead end, one local resident shouted that if the application was rejected again, they should just let the place be nameless. The Central Post Office apparently registered that word officially in 1866. Today, Nameless no longer has an active zip code, but its town sign has often been stolen by travelers who find the joke too good to ignore. If Nameless was born from postal bureaucracy fatigue, this settlement has a name that openly insults intelligence. Located deep in the leafy countryside near Huntingdon, Stupidville is a point on the map that often makes interstate drivers rub their eyes to make sure they read the road sign correctly. The area is very small, almost like an extended family compound, where old tractors and lawnmowers sit in the front yards of Southern-style raised homes. This unique name did not come from the intelligence level of its residents. Instead, it is believed to be a form of local sarcasm tied to an early settler family with the surname Stupid or Stupids. In America, comedy from place names like this is an instant magnet. Although it has no traffic light or local government center of its own, Stupidville still exists in modern mapping databases as one of the most ridiculous settlement names ever socially accepted. Moving from a name that sounds insulting to intelligence, there is a town with a name that sounds like a pickup line in a local bar. Sweet Lips is located in Chester County and functions as a quiet, small community with a very small population. Its landscape is dominated by a two-lane road cutting through sandy hills and traditional farmland. The story behind this flirtatious name comes from the American Civil War era in the 1860s. According to local oral history, a group of exhausted soldiers suffering from severe dehydration marched through the area and found a natural spring. When they drank from it, one soldier reportedly said the clear water tasted as sweet as a kiss from a girl's lips. As a result, the name Sweet Lips became permanently attached to the district map. The romantic mood of Sweet Lips disappears quickly once you drive northwest, where a town is named after the snorting sound of a wild animal. Bucksnort is a small stop located right along Interstate 40 in Hickman County. Its commercial area is very small, basically made up of a gas station, a souvenir shop, and a few cheap motels for long-haul truck drivers. The town's strangeness comes purely from its name, which means the snort of a male deer. Its origin goes back to the 19th century, when a well-known local hunter often imitated the snorting sound of a deer to entertain visitors at a local bar. Another version says the area was once a deer migration route, so crowded that the animal's snorts could be heard through the night. Among American truck drivers, Bucksnort has become a legendary joke often mentioned over logistics radio. From towns with funny names, we move to Erwin, a small town in Unicoi County surrounded by the grand landscape of the Appalachian Mountains. In size, the town is fairly functional, with a brick commercial center left from the railroad era. But Erwin holds a very strange and tragic historical record from September 1916. This town became the only place on Earth to execute a 5-ton circus elephant named Mary by hanging. Yes, you heard that right. Mary reportedly killed her inexperienced trainer during a circus performance in a nearby town. Because public anger in America at the time was massive, the circus owner was forced to approve the animal's execution. Erwin was chosen because the town had a 100-ton railroad industrial crane, powerful enough to lift the elephant's body above the tracks. The original black and white photo of Mary the elephant being hanged with a giant chain in the Erwin rail yard is one of the most viral historical documents in the world. Today, Erwin has worked hard to move away from that dark reputation by supporting animal preserves and elephant rehabilitation efforts. Meanwhile, there is a town that imported an entire piece of British aristocratic culture for a social experiment. Hidden in the Cumberland Plateau, Rugby looks like a slice of Victorian England suddenly dropped into the American wilderness. The village is very small, with brightly colored European Gothic-style wooden houses that feel highly unusual for rural Tennessee. Rugby was founded in 1880 by an English writer named Thomas Hughes. This social experiment aimed to build a utopian community for the second sons of British aristocratic families who, under English inheritance law at the time, did not receive family land. Instead of living idle in London, they were sent to Tennessee to farm while still keeping an upper-class lifestyle, complete with reading clubs and cricket games. Of course, the experiment failed within years because these young aristocrats did not know how to farm, and a typhoid outbreak struck the community. Today, Rugby is preserved as a quiet living museum town, where an old library filled with thousands of 19th century books still stands intact in the silence of the forest. A discussion of Tennessee's cultural oddities would not be complete without highlighting a town that produces famous alcohol, yet ironically restricts its residents from drinking that product. That story comes from Lynchburg, the county seat of Moore County, a relatively small town centered around an old stone-paved town square. This city is home to the world's most famous whiskey distillery, Jack Daniel's, which has operated since 1866. Here lies its biggest paradox and strangeness. Lynchburg sits in a dry county, a legal district that has restricted the retail sale, purchase, and consumption of alcoholic drinks since the era of national prohibition. Every year, hundreds of thousands of domestic and international tourists come to Lynchburg to see the process behind this legendary whiskey. But once the tour ends, they cannot simply order a glass of whiskey at a local restaurant or bar in town. The only exception is a special state law that allows the distillery to sell commemorative souvenir bottles directly on site. Life in this town moves very slowly, surrounded by large oak barrels and the strong smell of fermented corn, creating the atmosphere of an alcohol-producing town that is legally forced to stay sober. There is also Dayton, a town that shook the world by becoming the stage for a battle between science and faith. In July 1925, this small town suddenly became the focus of global media attention because of the Scopes monkey trial. This was a strange court case in which a high school biology teacher named John Scopes was legally charged with violating a state law that banned the teaching of Charles Darwin's theory of evolution in public schools. Dayton's town leaders actually designed the trial as a publicity stunt to attract investment and raise the profile of a town then struggling through economic depression. The effect was extraordinary. Thousands of journalists, radical preachers, and scientists crowded into Dayton, turning the town square into a street circus with monkeys dressed in human clothes. Today, the original courthouse where the trial took place still stands firmly, and its basement has been turned into a museum documenting one of the most eccentric theological debates in modern American history. Next, we move toward Tennessee's northern border, the center of one of America's most documented supernatural horror stories. Adams, a small rural town in Robertson County, sits not far from the Kentucky line. Life here centers around tobacco farming and a quiet little river. But Adams became strange because it is the location of the Bell Witch legend, the only case in United States history where the activity of a spirit was legally recognized as the cause of a human death. Between 1817 and 1821, a supernatural entity terrorized the farming family of John Bell in this area. The being was reportedly able to speak, sing, and physically torment members of the Bell family, until John Bell eventually died from poisoning by a mysterious substance believed to have been given by the entity. Even General Andrew Jackson, who would later become President of the United States, reportedly sent men to investigate the house, but left in fear. Today, Adams has turned this strange history into its main tourism commodity. The town even opens access to Bell Witch Cave and hosts an annual horror festival that attracts thousands of ghost hunters every fall. Then there is Sweetwater, a small trade town with an old railroad line cutting through the center of town. But its main strangeness is not visible on the surface. It is hidden hundreds of feet underground inside Craighead Caverns. This is where the Lost Sea is located, the largest underground lake in the United States and the second largest in the world. This giant underground lake covers more than 4 acres of surface area, hidden inside a dark maze-like cave system. One unique fact is that scientists still have not fully mapped the final limits of the lake's bottom, because its passages run deep into the earth. Today, Sweetwater depends on this strange asset as a major economic driver. Tourists can ride electric boats across the underground lake, passing through waters filled with giant trout that have become disoriented by the unusual lighting. Moving west, we find a place that is not legally registered as an official town, but has a very eccentric cultural reputation. Skullbone is a small community that, in the mid-20th century, unofficially declared itself the capital of a fictional independent region called the Kingdom of Skullbone. The name Skullbone itself came from a brutal local tradition in the past: bare-knuckle boxing competitions. Fighters from different areas came here to punch each other's skulls and shin bones until one of them passed out, all for a local title of honor. The town sign still standing by the roadside today says Kingdom of Skullbone, complete with the image of a pirate skull. If Skullbone created its own fictional kingdom, this town borrowed its identity from the capital of France. Paris, Tennessee is the county seat of Henry County and is fairly large compared with the previous places. It has a beautiful southern-style town square, but your attention will be immediately pulled away when you see a 70-foot Eiffel Tower replica standing in the middle of the city park. This replica tower was built in the early 1990s to emphasize the town's name connection with the real Paris in Europe. The town's strangeness does not stop there. Every year, Paris hosts an extreme food festival called the World's Biggest Fish Fry, a massive event where more than 5 tons of catfish are fried in giant vats of oil over a full week. Unique and strange at the same time, isn't it? Large-scale eccentricity also happened here. Ducktown is located in remote Polk County, inside an area known as the Copper Basin. If you look at aerial footage from the last century, Ducktown looks like an alien landscape that barely seems like it belongs on Earth. This small town once lost nearly all of its green vegetation and turned into a barren, eroded red dirt desert because of massive copper mining that began in the 1840s. This dry, Mars-like landscape became so famous that NASA astronauts were reportedly able to see Ducktown's red scar from space. Today, through one of the largest environmental reclamation projects in America, Ducktown has slowly started turning green again. But the local copper mining museum and the remaining eroded red soil are still preserved as visual proof of how industrial greed can completely transform the face of nature. From the Mars-like landscape of Ducktown, we move to Bare-Knuckle, a historic town with fewer than 500 residents. Its townscape is beautifully preserved, with rows of Victorian-style homes and wooden antique shops. Bare-Knuckle's uniqueness lies in its identity as a center of strange festival culture in the United States, especially the annual RC Cola and Moonpie Festival. Moonpie is a traditional American chocolate-covered marshmallow pie, and somehow, the people of Bare-Knuckle decided that pairing this snack with RC Cola was a cultural heritage worth celebrating on a massive scale through a street parade. The festival attracts tens of thousands of visitors every year, complete with the making of a giant 50-pound moon pie that is cut with a chainsaw. And to end this journey, we head to a town founded by German immigrants that is now home to one of the largest land mammal colonies in the world. Hohenwald was founded by German immigrants in the late 19th century, which explains why its name means high forest in German. The town also has important history as the place where legendary American explorer Meriwether Lewis died, with his grave now located near the edge of town. But Hohenwald's modern strangeness is the Elephant Sanctuary, the largest elephant sanctuary in the United States. This 2,700-acre sanctuary was created as a final refuge and rehabilitation center for retired circus and zoo elephants from across America. The strange part for tourists is that, although the town promotes itself as home to dozens of giant elephants, the sanctuary is completely closed to the public to protect the animals' psychological peace.